It's time for the Game Sports Podcast. It's your host, David McCaig Jr., and I am joined right off the hop doing our Chuck-a-Puck segment. I'm joined by Jordan Trudeau. Trudes, my friend, another week where we're going to talk about Greyhounds. But before we get to that, we have a little surprise topic, but I'm not going to spoil that just yet. You may have heard it in the opener, but hey, no spoilers. Trudeau, my friend, how are you?
Good. How are you, Dave?
Man, Trudes, I'm good. Last week was a great opening week for Chuck-a-Puck. It was great to see the interactions that we had, especially on the Facebook forum in the Sault Ste. Marie community. And, you know, there were comments about having somebody join us on a future episode, and I'm currently ironing that out right now. The people have spoken, and we're going to listen, but I'm not going to say who that is or what that is. You're going to have to tune into the clip that's been uploaded and comment and comments to see who that is. But, you know, we had a great first week last week, and we're here to talk about Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. It's been a busy week, and last week, but they have another this week, man.
Yes, they do. Another full week. They went, so they were in Saginaw on Wednesday, then they were in Kitchener on Friday, and then Owentown on Saturday, which actually we kind of, I messed up there. I thought they were in Owen Sound on Sunday, but they were actually there Saturday night. And so they went 1-3. They got 2-0 win in Saginaw, and they dropped 3-0 loss to Kitchener and a 3-0 loss to Owen Sound. Or 3-1, sorry, 3-1 loss to Owen Sound. So, and the upcoming week, so after a 1-2 weekend, not too bad, close games without your leading scorer, Brady Martin. He was suspended for 3 games. So not too bad, I would say. That's a tough road trip. And they're back at home all week. Wednesday to Sudbury, Friday against Niagara, their only trip to the GFL, and Sunday against Sarnia. So it's the last home games before the Christmas break. So season's going fast. And it's not slowing down.
It's already Christmas.
Yeah.
Right? And before we go into it deeper, I'll pause this there with Chuck-a-Puck. Hold that puck in your hand and wait a second. I'm going to bring out another sport for a second. Baseball. Just for 1 second, we're going to pause Chuck-a-Puck.
Baseball.
Bring up baseball for 1 second. The reason why I want to do this is because co-host of the Strike Zone segment, Connor Henderson, is not able to join us this evening, and he threw you under the bus saying that he wants the feedback about, drumroll, Juan Soto going to the New York Mets and absolutely contracting an absolute whoa. The money is insane going to Juan Soto.
Yep. Well, he's always up to something, isn't he? That Connor Henderson.
Yeah, he is. He is.
Grew up with him. He's an awesome guy to have around, an awesome guy to talk sports with too. So I always enjoy listening to you guys on that platform too. Juan Soto, my reaction, I just think it's too much money. Like what? Like he's getting how much? Like, okay, let's go spend that somewhere else.
Anywhere.
Really? I mean, that's my opinion. Like, he's a great player, but like I don't know. The Jays. I think the Jays have a lot of work to do other than just landing Juan Soto. You know what I mean? So as a Jays fan, as a baseball fan, I'm getting a little like upset, annoyed with all these like deals just going up and up. Like the money just like that they're handing these players is getting a little too much for me. So it's kind of taking away my experience as a fan. And in terms of as a Blue Jay fan, I think just they got lots of work to do. So I mean, Soto would have been a great fish to catch, but let's just work on signing Bo and Vladdy, I guess.
And they just acquired Andreas Gimenez from the Guardians, as we were talking.
Oh, really?
It's a little breaking news that they're finalizing with the Guardians for Andreas Gimenez from the Guardians.
Oh, that's a good pickup. And they
just re-signed and brought back Jimmy Garcia today too. There was another.
Oh, good. Well, that's good because I saw Romano just went right.
To the
so that's
And
Good that they.
has signed with the New York Yankees, as we're talking as well, an 8-year,
Okay.
$218 million to the Yankees. So, you know what?
A lot of money.
Connor wanted me to throw you under the bus to talk baseball and a little bit of strike.
Wonderful.
And why not? Because why not start the show with a little chat about the Hounds there for a second, but then throw a loop to bring in a little
Throw me under
the bus for Juan Soto. That was an absolute 15 years, 700. What planet are we on? Cannot believe it. Reaction below on that signing. Please feel free to do that. And when we actually have Connor on, maybe we'll get up to the updates. But I wanted to make sure we talked about it as it's still fresh news because it is fresh. But now, if you're a Blue Jay fan or a Tiger, any fan that we're thinking about spending money on Soto or somebody else, especially the Jays, if you're going to spend $750 million, you go spend that on bringing back Teoscar Hernandez. You go get 2 starting pitchers. You go get relievers, and you re-sign Bo and you re-sign Vlad, and you say, wow, we saved money. Piece of advice from me, who's not a baseball manager, but take it from a fan who doesn't want to see a contract like that will not age well. Calling it now. Truth, back
I agree with you.
puck. We're throwing the puck back.
Backstrap puck. Okay, we're throwing it. We had it paused, and now we're getting ready to release again. Okay, great.
Again. So this week,
this week coming up, yeah.
Niagara and Sarnia. That's where we left off.
Yeah.
Week, and then you got Christmas. They have 2 more games after this week before Christmas, and they have 8 days off. So obviously there'll be some news that we can chat about next week. But of course, it's still busy. It's the Christmas year, but if you're around in the Sault Ste. Marie community, get out and support the Hounds. And I want to mention this for
your last chance before Christmas. So yeah, get out and support.
I've been looking. Saginaw 2,300. Kitchener 6,500. That's good attendance in the OHL game. Love that. Sound 2,800. The GFL can get 4,000 plus in there. Okay, get our butts in seats. People that are home from school, people are off school. This is, despite where the Hounds are in the standings, this is still a team that could be very much enjoyed to watch. They have good talent on that ice. Gibson, obviously with Martin coming back from suspension. There are players to watch and enjoy. And we are an original hockey town. And yes, I took that quote from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, which is on at the Polar Stadium, but I'm taking it for our own. Okay? Sault Ste. Marie is a hockey passionate community, and we care about this team, and we love this team. And truly, when I look at the attendance, we have fair numbers. 3,000 against. We have 3,800 on the 15th of November. There's 4,200 back on the 17th of November. Just to pop up a couple dates, we had 4,042 on the London game that we lost 5-1 with back in November 6th. So I'd love to see that. When I see these other ranks and other teams that could be higher, same, or lower in the Hounds, doesn't matter, get these numbers. I love to see that we are in the upper above average, I would say. That is what we are as a community. Get out and support these guys. And why not do it than to take somebody who's home for Christmas, or maybe who's a student who's been working hard all year, or if you have the holidays on a Wednesday or Friday, or even a Sunday afternoon, to put your rear end in a seat at the GFL. Truth, I won't go any further with that, but you've got some takeaways from this weekend I want you to lead the charge on.
I do, yeah, some takeaways. But yeah, to everyone, it's your last chance to get to watch them before the Christmas break. So, come out and watch, because the team could look, you never know, it could look a lot different the next time they come to town. So, yeah, takeaways from this past weekend, Miller time. Let's talk about Landon Miller. In just a week's time, last week I came on the podcast and I had said how much he struggled over the course of the year. Like, he's had some struggles. Well, he stopped 83 out of 85 shots in his 2 games. That was Saginaw on Wednesday and Kitchener on Friday. He saw a lot of rubber in those 2 games, and he saved 83 saves on 86 shots, right? Because they lost 3-0 to Kitchener. Oh no, one was an empty net.
Yeah.
No, we're good. My math is good. Yeah. So, huge confidence boost for him.
Right.
Huge confidence boost. Fantastic play by him. If that continues more and more, I think it's more and more likely that Charlie gets traded. If he continues that play.
100%.
So that was one big takeaway that I had was his play. It was huge. They missed Martin on offense, obviously. They only scored 3 goals in 3 games, so his suspension affected them that way. We saw how important he is to the offense, right? And 2 of the goals were actually scored by the same player, Justin Cloutier. So, that was a huge loss. And moving forward, it just goes to show you how important he is going to be to this team in the next few years. And my last takeaway was the defensive zone. And I've actually had a lot of good discussions about this with a lot of Hounds fans since the September. They struggle in their defensive zone, the Greyhounds. They gave up 120 shots in 3 games. So that works out to 40 per game. That's not sustainable. That's definitely an area of improvement for I'm assuming John Dean and the coaching staff. So even with the new players that they might bring in, like we might see a name like Andrew Gibson. Well, we're going to see a name like Andrew Gibson go. Same with Owen Allard, maybe Newell Nord, like we talked about before, maybe Caden Carlisle. Even with the changes in the roster and the Greyhounds getting younger, that's still a place that you probably like to see improvement in.
Yeah, to have that many
in
shots,
my opinion.
and I could take you from a
Ooh.
player perspective and a coach's perspective, despite whatever level you play or coach at.
Right.
Try to limit in a game, and this may be an old school mentality, especially in the new style hockey that we see because of all the speed and talents that we see go down the ice. But you want to try to limit to 10 shots a period. That should be your goal as a team. You want to try every team that either have coach or play on. You always have tried to set the goal where you are playing and allowing less, if not more, no more than 10 shots a game. If you can have 30 shots a game or less, then the recipe that you allow, if your goalie has an over 900 save percentage, you should allow less than 3 goals a game. Okay. And as a team to win, if you're losing the game because the other team scored 2, then obviously your offense is a struggle. You got to try to score 3 goals a game, but obviously less than 3 a game. So people say, well, that works out to 3 and 3. Not necessarily. It depends if your goalie has a 91 save percentage and you get really down to statistics. But with offense and driving the net, if you as a team can allow 10 or less a period, but also generate 13 to 15 a period to try to hit that 40 plus part as your team, that is where you're going to have success. And those are good quality shots. If you can have 40 plus shots a game and have them in a 70%, 60% ratio or area, that is a high quality scoring chance, you're going to score 4 or 5 goals a game, especially if you're a high octane offense. From a defensive team, if you look at New Jersey back in the early thousands, they had a decent amount of shots against, but they played the trap. Brodeur was able to stop the puck a lot. I'm really dating myself in this conversation. It's a new style.
No, that's a good point. Like as good as Broder was, I think in the new age of hockey, right? You would look at them and you'd probably criticize them a bit and say like, okay, you gotta improve those numbers a bit because like good goaltending, when you get good goaltending, your statistics wise, you're generally lucky. Like good goaltending means you're lucky, right?
Very.
When you look at the Greyhounds goalie stats over the past couple games and Charlie's stats all year, like they've been lucky. They've had their fair share of luck. So it's like we're saying, it's definitely needs to improve. And that wasn't just this weekend too. Like that's been you watch video on the goals they give up and you're seeing a lot of sweaters roaming around that not many red sweaters are taking a check on. So like I think moving forward as they get older, like they've got a very very young team and a young defensive core. So that core is only going to grow, they're going to get more confident, get more physical. So I think that'll just naturally improve. But it's also great to see Miller's numbers like of this past weekend. I that's the biggest takeaway from me. Like he was outstanding, and that's what the Greyhounds need from him if he wants to be their goalie.
You saw the ceiling. You saw the that he had.
There it is.
What worked? Why did this work? What worked in the game? What pregame did you?
Going.
You have sloppy goals and pasta before the game. What did you? You do whatever works to get you in that mindset. Is him knowing that maybe you're rising to the occasion because Charlie might get traded to prove that he could be the number. but you have to keep that mindset. You can't say, okay, now that if Charlie does, get dealt, that you're number one, that, I got this now, I'm good. No, you gotta know, especially as a hockey player, what works, what works for you, and what's going to bring success. And he did prove this weekend that he has the capabilities of being the number one guy. And Charlie can go to a team that is going to be a championship contending team, perhaps, and get the city and this organization some value back for a very good goaltender to help us grow into the future years with Landon Miller at the forefront of the crease, because he did show a lot of impressive capabilities. They're not saying that he never had that potential. We obviously saw it as fans, but he really showcased it this past weekend.
Yeah, he did, and he's a tall goaltender too, which is plus. So if he can like really really zone in and figure it out, like that's always a plus. Yeah, I was excited for him.
Yes. Now, between the last 2 points, just because given time, I'm gonna get you to choose, because then we can tease the next for next week. NCAA ruling an impact on the OHL or Ryder Cali? Who do you got? Where do you want to go? The listeners are pretending they want to hearing something, but you can't hear them, so you get to choose.
Be on the spot again, eh? Yeah. No, I love being on the spot. Well, the NCAA, I don't have a lot to say on that, so maybe we'll just keep it. We'll keep that for today, and then we'll talk about our friend named Ryder Cali next week.
Deal.
That'll be good when Pete's on too, because he might have some like good views on that as well.
He's had a lot of posts about that.
He might have some good knowledge about that. So yeah, the NCAA. So if you're not really familiar with the way NCAA versus CHL works, is I guess before this year, if a player committed to an NCAA Division I program to go play hockey and go to school in America, they could make that commitment, but just one exhibition game for a CHL team would completely nullify that commitment. Like they would not be eligible at all anymore. They could not get that eligibility back just by playing one simple exhibition game for a CHL team. Like it was like the second you put on a CHL sweater, you cannot play NCAA, which was, I guess, fair, right? Because they're competing leagues, right? They both want the best players. They both want the best talent to showcase to the NHL. But back on November 7th, the NCAA Council voted that there was a lawsuit, right, where a player took the NCAA to court, and I think they were going to win. So they voted to make the Canadian Hockey League play all Canadian Hockey League players eligible for NCAA Division I hockey after they're done playing in the CHL.
Yeah.
So now you can play in the CHL and play NCAA Division I hockey. So what was happening the past few years were a lot of really talented players from Ontario were just going to the US and committing to these universities, playing elsewhere because they didn't want to risk it. They wanted to go to school and play hockey, so you didn't see them in the OHL. And I think that had a huge effect on last year and just the way the draft went. Like I think a lot of players were taken much higher than they were ranked, and because of certain players, committing to universities. But now we're going backwards. We've seen the rules change. So I hope I explained that kind of well. Basically,
very well.
Right? So when you graduate high school, you go to college. So most of the players in the CHL are late high school, early college level. But now you can actually, with the rule change, you can actually go and play NCAA hockey. So we've already seen it around the league, affect the league big time. I think over half the league now has gotten a player committed to a university, to commit to the program for this year. So it's already affecting the league in a good way. The league's going to get more competitive, I think. London, Guelph, Kitchener, the Hounds. They got Jordan Sharon, who's relatively new. He reported in November 15th. He's an NCAA commit. North Bay, Erie, Oshawa. Like there's quite a few teams that have already signed NCAA commitments. That segues into our sneak peek for next week. Ryder Cali is an interesting case, right? Because the Greyhounds drafted him first round. He committed to Harvard University, but now he can come and play in this league. So
Yep.
we'll talk about
What that looks like.
that whole situation if he reports to he's property of North Bay now. So we'll talk about that.
See, that's I'll say like from this, I think it's been long overdue to have a sort of agreement where there could be something with NCAA. Like I can remember from when I played and even before my era, how there was so much, strictness with that, where even if you went to a camp, you played that exhibition game, you couldn't play NCAA hockey. Right. And, there needs to be that middle of where it doesn't I guess if you're NCAA, you don't care about any other league, and it's in the OHL
Well,
doesn't care about NCAA, right? You're caring about making sure that your leagues are competitive, but you want to try to ensure that balance. And obviously, import rules. If you're Canadian, going over, there's a lot of things you have to follow too, right? So when it comes into the NCAA ranks, I think the best effect is obviously unless you are known. Like going the NCAA route is being the norm, is being that big step now, right? Where I'll even bring up a different example, different levels, but high school hockey in Sault Ste. Marie is way better than what you see. And I know people in SMHA might not.
yeah,
I'm sorry to say it, SMHA listeners, but high school hockey has taken that step above where when I was playing the single A, whatever league you're in, they were players that were cut from AAA and AA was stacked, right? And now high school.
that started when I graduated. Like
Yeah.
when I was in grade 11 and 12, you started to see a real like surge in the skill of high school hockey,
It
and it
changed.
was like a real competition with SMH. Yeah, no,
Big part of that
that's
is
a good
because of
example. Well,
so many
yeah,
exposure, right? NCAA and college sports in the States are
yeah,
bonkers.
yeah,
Our university competitiveness and exposure is not at that point. So like I know I'm transitioning between high school sports and local and all over, but my point is the long awaited kind of that gap in that bridge where you can go over and play, commit, but play. I like seeing the transition, but I still think
both leagues, yeah,
there's still
both leagues
yes,
for sure.
100% they are. And as an approach from someone, if it was my opinion, my preference would be to want to play for my hometown or play in the Ontario Hockey League. And then after that, if things aren't going the right way, look at the next steps. Okay, opposed to
Yeah,
right. But I wasn't like from a scholastic perspective. I may not have the same focus as Ryder Cali has or something or the same goal. So it depends on what your
right.
preference is. But I'd like to see this transition because that shows growth in the game. And I think it's long overdue, despite if you like it or not, because they take one of your players or not. Those are risks that you have to take now in an organization. And when you're junior hockey, when you're college hockey, heck, even the NHL, when they draft players, that doesn't mean that you're keeping them. 9 times out of 10, maybe your first round, all that same. But look at guys like Jimmy VC. Those are guys that left, and it's coming to mind with different players that have moved on and didn't stay. Right? We can go back in time and say how Lindros refused coming to the Hounds, and then he refused going to the Quebec Nordiques, right? And then he gets traded to Philly. But then guess what? Quebec switches to Colorado, and they win the Stanley Cup because of that trade. There's a lot of things in sports that make it an interesting storyline. But I think NCAA and OHL and the Canadian Hockey League, there's an opportunity there to make it something even more special as time allows. I think this is actually an okay feat and a good thing to have, in my opinion.
Yeah, me too. A lot of NHL teams prefer like the CHL and the NCAA are like huge development leagues for the
Yeah.
NHL. So I think like the NHL is going to be happy, which is going to make everybody else happy, right?
And truly, look at what Austin Matthews did. Instead of staying in the United States, he went over to
Yeah,
Switzerland to play with men. He had that approach. The players have
right.
an approach, right? So it's interesting way to see, but I think this is a good segue,
Yeah, it's gonna help.
a good opening to see how this grows. Now, Trude's last question. I'm going to put you on the spot because I saw this as a comment in the Soo Greyhounds Facebook page.
Okay.
Zane Parekh or Andrew Gibson? Who you put?
Andrew Gibson.
Okay.
Okay, but
Is it by? Is that a bias? Like for real? Okay, bias. Are you? But for real, are you taking out? If you take out the bias, are you saying
I
I still would do Gibson? I like the size. I like the way he plays. I think it's a different. I like
yeah,
the type of defenseman, right? That
I
tall.
wouldn't take Yeah. I wouldn't take Parekh at all. Not with his track record, unless he improves. I will say his demeanor, his tactics, right? Like I just think that's like no amount of skill is gonna be like good enough if you carry yourself a certain way, right? So I would take Andrew Gibson. Yeah. Was that like a trade like who because
No, there was a
no, okay, it was just like a
on the
like a
Facebook
version. Okay.
page, and maybe we'll have to get Pete to talk about it a little bit because now I'll say who the name is. People are gonna wonder who the heck is Pete. There's your teaser.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Peter. Like it's Pete's gonna have maybe a funny take on it because it was on his post about Parekh
Okay.
over to the World Juniors, and then a friend of mine
Right.
who's a previous host on the show, his name's Dustin. He put Gibby 10 out of 10 times, and it made me trigger to want to ask you that question because I agree, and it's not because of a bias. I know Trudeau has Hound jerseys behind them, as you see. I got Heartbreak jerseys behind me.
Me too.
Except this team, that team, the Steelers. But again, I like tall. I like tall defensemen that have that two-way game, that have that, if you will, if you like Chell 25, the quick pick ability. That quick pick where they got the long stick, they got the good smarts. I love that. I like that two-way defenseman, defensive defenseman. Look, if I had a team, I would have a Zdeno Chara. I would have Owen Power, Tyler Myers, Jamie Oleksiak, all on the same blue line if I could, because I just love the physicality. When you're defense, I would have one offensive defenseman. I'd have 3 two-way defensemen and 2 defensive defensemen, because not one guy that's offensive would run the power play. The other guys, I want defense. I want guys that are going to keep the puck out of the net. My offense will get me my goals. My defense can contribute to get the puck out, but two-way guys can move the puck. They know how to move the puck. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, these guys know how to move the puck. You have one offensive guy who can put the puck in net. Quinn Hughes does it all as a prime example. But someone like Gibson is a prototypical Dave McCaig top 4D man that I'm putting in my lineup. It is nice to see it now. I know he's not thin like Myers and those guys, but
he's pretty big though. 6'3", 6'2". Yeah, he's. And another thing about Gibson, like you look at when he was injured for that one road trip that the Hounds had when they went to Erie, Niagara. The Greyhounds gave up I think it was something like 6 or 7 goals a game that road trip. So 3 games they gave up, I think 21 or 22 goals. Fast forward to this last weekend, they didn't give up they were a lot tighter of games. So I really realized didn't really notice how essential Gibson was to those defensive games until he was not there, and it was oh my goodness, it's 8 and it's just starting the third period. They scored 8 goals already. Brampton scored 8 goals already. So he is exactly what you're talking about. He can play. He's not as offensive as Parekh. Well, obviously Parekh, leads very offensive. Gibson won't I don't think he'll necessarily put up points, but he will play those important minutes for you.
He will block shots. He'll kill penalties. That last game, if the goalie's pulled, who you put Parekh or Gibson? Who are you putting out there in that final minute when there's an empty net? I'm not putting Parekh. The guy's going to try to do the empty net. He's going to block the shot. He's going to get the puck out. Parekh 10 or Gibson 10 out of 10 times. Just saying. No bias though. Trudes, my friend, another segment of Chuck a Puck. It's been fun, my friend. I'll have to make sure I get some signage about all the segments that we do about In the Pocket, Chuck a Puck, Top Shelf, Strike Zone, all these different segments that we do. I'll have to figure out something.
I'll get you a Chuck a Puck from the game. I'll just say this is the Chuck a Puck for the Chuck a Puck segment.
Yes, love that. Love that. But I want to say thank you to you, my friend, for coming on. And we'll be back next week, and we should have a guest next week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Trudes, again, this has been the Chuck a Puck segment where we talk everything Greyhounds, but this week we threw a little bit of baseball love for you, just a little tease, just because I knew that this guy would have some reaction about baseball as per our Strike Zone host, Connor Henderson. Hi, Connor. But that aside, We're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, we have Top Shelf now. That is where we talk the national hockey perspective with Alex and Brennan. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back here on The Game. Welcome back to Game Sports Podcast. I am joined by Brendan McCarthy and Alex Parr. Brendan, going to you first, my friend, all the way in the GTA area. Welcome back. Another episode where we're talking top shelf here. Hockey, you know it. How's life been, my friend?
Great, boys. I guess some will be listening, some will be watching, but I am repping a little St. John's token hat here, Nook and Cannery. So shout out to St. John's, Newfoundland. Love visiting there. I want to go back again.
You've went to Newfoundland? I'm jealous. I want to take that trip to the East
Unreal.
Coast.
Unreal.
My dream trips. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great time, and it won't hurt the wallet either.
Not at all. How's the seafood?
Delicious, man. Like fresh. 3 thumbs up.
Oh my God, wild. Now, without further ado, going to the other side, wearing some nice vibrant colors today. Loving it. Okay, supporting McLaren. He's got the toque on. It must be snowing in his house, everybody. But the one, the only, Alex Parr, my friend. Brother, how's it going?
Constructors champions, baby. Number 1. Die-hard McLaren fan starting this year. I'm 1 for 1. Let's go, McLaren. I'm fired up.
I think you need to start a racing series. I think you need to start
that. I do not know enough yet. I'm working on it. All I know is that McLaren's the best, and Max Verstappen, I got choice words for that clown. Screw that guy.
If you know what you're about, comment below, because I'm not going to lie. I'm not involved in it watching. I used to watch Jeff Gordon. That's the only thing I ever really watched in NASCAR. So I'll stop there because I've already aged myself a little bit there. But nonetheless, fellas, we got hockey to talk about. It's a short time. There's so much to talk about. And we are going to talk Four Nations in a big thing here, okay? We are going to go there. But we're going to start off first with securing the bag, because that was the title of our last episode where we said cash or cups, right? Would you rather have money or would you rather have cups? Okay, and we talked about Tyler Bertuzzi in that topic, and Mitch Marner kind of got brought into it a little bit. But Igor Shesterkin signs an absolute monster of a contract, 8 years, 11.5 with the New York Rangers. Vasilevsky, just to put in perspective, Vasilevsky and Bobrovsky make 10, okay? And those guys are Stanley Cup champions. Vasilevsky has won the cup multiple times, okay? So, and yes, he signed his contract at a different time, but Igor signs the biggest contract in goaltender history. He locks down in New York. The New York Rangers trade Trouba to the Ducks, okay, which cool to be in California. That's all fun and games, but they're not close to winning a cup anytime soon. But I guess it's better than maybe put on waivers, okay? Nonetheless, Igor secures the bag. Brandon, tell me about this, okay? Give me your reaction. Is this not an overpayment? Am I crazy to say that this is a stupid amount of money to yet give the best one of maybe the best goalies in the league? So maybe I sound crazy, but it's so much money to give your number one tendy.
So when the news broke, Dave and Parr, I just had the longest and biggest eye roll, because this guy just seems, and Dave knows because I tore a strip off him on one of my first podcasts co-hosting. And this guy just seems like he's just simply chasing the bag. I mean, he doesn't have that killer mentality to win and, take a haircut for the sacrifice of simply winning as a team and having your name etched on the cup. This guy is like, I am going to be, the guy wearing all this Gucci stuff, strutting down Broadway. I will say on this podcast, Igor Shesterkin will never win a Stanley Cup.
Amen.
Ever.
I agree. I'm and I know New York is very good this year. I love their roster. I really do. I do like the makeup of their roster. I like those type of players. I like the Fox. I like Kreider. I like Zibanejad, Lafreniere. I like their team. I kind of just like their team, but they're not a Stanley Cup team. I like their team, but I don't see them as a cup team in my honest opinion. But when you have Igor in net, that's a pretty big win. But that's a lot of money to give a guy. Parr, you went. You seem shocked by that comment.
The Rangers have just been dog crap for a while now, and they're in full-on panic mode. They are trying to fix what they can. But I'm going to look at this Shesterkin contract from another angle. It's a lot of money, the most money that a goalie has had. Yep. But I saw a tweet today from Alan Walsh. He's an agent for a lot of the players in the NHL, who tweeted out the top salaries from players back before the 2004 lockout. And we are only finally getting back to those same numbers on those same deals. How long ago has that been? The players are the reason why people go and the league makes money. I want the players to be the people making the money. I don't want to go into the owners. I don't want to go in anywhere else. I want it to go to the guys I got to catch that rubber going 120 miles an hour at their head. And more than anything, I want this league to grow. It's fallen way back in the dust in comparison to all the other sports. So I think, yes, it is a lot in comparison to what we have, but this league should be leaps and bounds more revenue than it is right now. So it took us 20-ish years to get back here. I'm just happy that we're trending in the right direction.
Let me give you this as a statement to not go too much on it. Igor Shesterkin will be the second best goalie in New York Ranger history. Hot take on this point, he will be the third in legacy in New York, and there's a difference. Hank is one, always would be. Hank is one. I know he didn't win a cup, but there's something about Hank. He was the wins, the character, and he was a good-looking lad. Let's get real. Okay, that's
I was going to say, and very handsome.
Probably one of the best-looking guys to ever come out of the National Hockey League, and I say that confidently. Number two, because I'm talking legacy here, folks. Lundqvist 1, Mike Richter 2. What did Mike Richter win? A Stanley Cup. That adds to legacy more than anything. Number 3, Igor Shesterkin would be next on that list because maybe he will come close to the wins in Lundqvist. Maybe pass him because he's going to be there for the next 8 years. Maybe he will win maybe he'll win a couple Vezinas. Maybe that will happen. He'll have those awards and those accolades, but they're going to be self. It won't be team. I agree with Brennan. No cup for New York. This does constrain you. And this comes from a Toronto Maple Leaf fan who understands tying up players with money. But I think Igor, because I think that is just an astronomical amount of money. But hey, he got offered it and they paid him. So I'm not sitting here questioning the player or questioning the personality of the player. I'm just saying what's going to happen in the future because of this and how it's going to constrain New York. Unless the cap, in the next 5 years, just inflates in a way that people do kind of project. But yeah.
They're talking about it going up more than 5% now. So
yeah. We'll see if that causes another lockout. I have a feeling they shouldn't go too high. That will not always work. You got to go up, stop for a couple years. Go up, stop, go up. You got to, in the NHL, it's a lot different than the NFL, a lot different than Major League Baseball, obviously, as Juan Soto literally makes more money than anybody in this universe, it sounds like. So there's money getting tossed around in sports because they have that ability. NHL needs to get to that point. You brought up a good point about 20 years ago, but remember what I said, legacy. And we've talked about this on this podcast. I think legacy outweighs anything. I would rather win cups than win self-awards and have the money. And I would love, if I was in the National Hockey League, I'd love to win it with my favorite hockey team. But I would sign somewhere purposely and take a discount. And I do say that now, and Parr rolls his eyes every time I say that. But I would take a discount to win Stanley Cups, because to play a total of 8-9 months out of the year and to be a third, second line guy maybe, or a 20 goal guy, whatever I may be on that, and winning cups is a lot better than being a 30, 40 goal guy making $3 or $4 million more, because no one's going to remember. Everyone's going to remember that Stanley Cup winning team, those guys that were impactful on those Stanley Cup winning teams. That's what
Guys, the amount of money that gets tossed around, if you go and chat with the likes of Scott Stevens or Ty Domies or Ron Francis, they are probably these damn spoiled brats. I had a conversation with my girlfriend about the Leafs, and she was asking well, how much cap is tied up to the core four? And when I told her, she almost fell down. And I said, look, if I was in the NHL, I'd be more than happy to be making Bobby McMahon money. And she's like, well, how much does Bobby McMahon make? And I was like, what, 1.5 million, 2 million? And she said, that right there is life-changing money. So with these guys who are just asking for the bag, like Igor, it's brother, you flirt with 900K, that's life-changing money. And obviously he's not worth that, but 11 5-sheets per year is insane. And the contracts that are just being shoveled to players these days is atrocious. And I know you're paying for what you're expecting them to become, but man, it just turns my stomach sometimes seeing some of these contracts get rolled out. Igor, man, phenomenal goaltender, but I do not see him lifting Lord Stanley.
Nope. We
Period.
might be wrong, and I don't mind being wrong, but we'll eat our words on that. But, okay, fellas, we'll transition to the Four Nations just for sake of time. I think we'll have time for some Four Nations discussion, then we get into our redraft where we end the segment. Time flies when you're having fun as we hit the 10-minute mark already. Four Nations, look, if I'm okay, I won't take up time here, but I will say the first thing that's on my mind about Four Nations. 2 points. One, this team was built in a specific way. Obviously, there's a little bit of Tampa Bay Lightning favoritism on John Cooper's side. I'm not chirping, but the Hagel, Sorelli, right? These guys that are Point deserves to be there, though. I do question the other guys, but I see why these guys are there. The Konechny, these guys, because they are role players that are that can hit, can grind, kill penalties. There's approaches to this. But I do not agree about Connor Bedard being off the team. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how his season has been. This is a kid that plays with can we be transparent with shrubs. I'm not in the NHL. These guys would walk all over me, and I played hockey my whole life. But this is a team in Chicago that's not good. They're not a good hockey team. You put Bedard with Crosby on Pittsburgh even, this kid would be sensational. Crosby had Lemieux. Imagine if Bedard had Crosby when he started. It would be a complete different career, in my opinion.
Crosby didn't make the 2006 roster when he was a rookie, when he had Lemieux. This is a very normal way for Team Canada to build their team.
But I don't agree. I think Bedard, because this is literally a different era. It's faster. Bedard is smart. I think he would jive really well in the top 9 forwards for this team. I think the opportunity, especially over Seth Jarvis, even if he didn't play, I know Seth Jarvis is having a pretty good year, of course, but how Seth Jarvis, I feel like if there's a 13th forward, that should have been Bedard. Or he should have been in the realm of conversation. It blows my mind. It wasn't.
Crosby was on the team in 06 in Torino, but Pat Quinn benched him. I don't think he saw any ice time. But he was part of the team, was he not? Are we talking Olympics? I believe he was on the team, but Pat Quinn was like, no, he's not playing.
And in 2010, Crosby's the freaking captain.
He had a chip on his shoulder, right? And got the golden goal.
What happens? Exactly. And he's asking Jonathan Taves if he should wear the C. And Taves is like, are you nuts?
But here's the thing with Bedard, boys, and we touched on the previous episode. When there's so much attention on you as the number 1 overall pick, your impact should be immediate. Parr, you alluded to it on the previous episode. McDavid, Matthews, Crosby. Like, if your scouts and coaching staff and you're looking through, possible candidates, if they're in the boardroom and they're like, yeah, Bedard's going to be a great player, but we want him to be basically controlling a line. So if we were to take him and be a part of Team Canada, he would be a complementary piece. Bedard, given what, the expectation was of this guy, he should be carrying lines, right? And I'm sorry, but this is Team Canada. You're not going to make the cup, brother. And yes, I agree. Probably a little bit too much Tampa Bay Lightning favoritism. Would have liked to see Suzuki down the middle, maybe throw Scheifele there as well.
Yes, but sure.
Bedard, I don't think it's not his time, and he hasn't proven that he is meant to be on that team yet.
Parr, I know you got the mind flowing, dude. I see you searching on your screen about some points. Hit us.
It's not about Connor Bedard, and I don't know if you want to talk about Sam Montembeault yet.
Sure. And I will say before we go to before we go to that, then, that when it comes to, that's a great point about Bedard, but Suzuki not being there, and Scheifele, other guys, and don't forget, other players are off other teams. We don't have enough time to talk about every team. Maybe next week we'll try to dive into the other teams a little bit more, even though it's a little bit older news. It still isn't at the same time.
Yeah.
Other players were left off. Caulfield blew my mind the most out of everybody in the world that Caulfield wasn't on there. But nonetheless, again, Parr, you want to talk about Montembeault? Don't forget, before you talk about Montembeault, this guy was predicted by myself and Dane when we predicted this. It was Hill, Binnington, and Montembeault were me and Dane because of what we saw last year. And this year, almost it seemed like it didn't matter, but when I saw Bedard get left off the team, I changed my thought on that. But you have Montembeault. Go.
His stats don't suggest that he should be there, and I will stand by that. There's a lot better goalies that you could have going. But as much as I thought bringing the third goalie of Fleury in as a vibes guy, I think Canada has a problem with goalies, which is very apparent. So what would be a better way than throwing this young Canadian goalie into the mix to learn about what it takes to get there and what these pros do and all of these things to nurture this guy? Because clearly that's not what we've been doing as a country in bringing these goalies up. And I had to sit there and tell myself, because I was really, really taken aback when you guys said Montembeault should be on the team. I was like, Dave, you're only saying that because he shut the Leafs out game 1 of the season. Like, you're just saying that out of recency bias.
Wanted. It's been a rumor that he's been wanted since last year on this team. It's not.
Oh my God! I just looked. He's 28. What am I even saying? No, I don't. I just don't know what to do with these Canadian goalies. Is it something that's wrong in the CHL in its entirety of just letting these goalies get shelled and we don't care? But if it's to try to nurture this guy, then it makes sense. If it's enough stats and you actually expect this third goalie to perform, you're nuts. You're absolutely insane.
We've never had to worry about goaltending. Look at the history. Price, Brodeur, Eddie Balfour, Curtis Joseph. Go down the list. We've never had to worry. Like the States.
It's been an embarrassment of riches. Yeah, completely.
The States are the best the Europeans. If I'm a scout, I'm looking European goaltending because they're with older people early. They get shelled in every game. Like Tuukka Rask at the World Juniors. When Toronto traded Rask instead of Pogge, I even said at that point that was crazy because Rask was sick at the World Juniors. He was getting peppered 55 shots a game and stopping 52 on a Finnish team that was not they actually weren't that bad, but he was stopping pucks. Okay, so the scouting in the States, the development for goalies in the States, especially in Europe, I still say is the best for development of goaltenders right now. But I might get argued on that now because the States got a stacked goaltending crew, and
the States are going to walk through everyone, guys. Like sick. It's unfair. They're unbelievable, man. Like Matthews, they're going to have fun, like creating those line combinations. Like it's going to be Austin Matthews and the Tkachuk brothers. Like that's just unfair. And then you go down the list. The depth is insane. They got studs on the back end, and then Ottinger, Hellebuck, Swayman. Like, come on.
What planet are we on?
It's like a World Series, and you got to face like
the Dodgers.
A deadly rotation all on the road, and it's like great. They're at least going 8 innings, probably going to give up just 1 hit. Like, it's just a joke. Like, good luck.
Next week, we'll choose our rankings. I think it's going to be very similar, our rankings. I think we're almost in agreement with a lot with the Four Nations. I don't want to go too much more because I know time is of the essence right now, guys. And we'll dive into it a little bit more. But I feel like the names on the rosters, a lot of key players that were left out. I think we can all agree on that. So I'll quickly ask one player each that you think was off the roster that should have been there. I guess I got to stick to mine. I agree with it still. Connor Bedard, I feel like should have been on it. Brendan, how about you? For Canada.
I would say Sick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki, for sure.
Nice.
And
Parr.
Just based on how hot he's been, Macklin Celebrini.
Sure. Over 7.
Oh, okay. I like that one.
Yeah, sure. I agree. There's a lot of options. Unbelievable. All right, so we're going to get to our top 5, our redraft, and then we're going to complete the segment. Then we got some in the pocket time, and yes, we're going to talk a little bit of love about my Oregon Ducks on that. But nonetheless, we got the redraft, fellas, and we're at 1997. This all started the 70. Like we've been doing this since last year. It's very exciting. Now we're at 1997. I believe this is Parr's birth year, if I have it correctly. Yes, I got that guess right. So we're going to go from, just to remind everybody, because it's been a few weeks, the NHL redraft for Parr, myself, Brennan, and draft the top 5 of the NHL from the year that we're talking about based on what we know today. If we went back in the DeLorean, got into 88, and wanted to redraft this team for them. And we're going to go first. Brendan, you're going to take it from the top. You can start 1 to 5 or 5 to 1, whatever way you want to go. Parr second, then me to close out.
All right, from 5 to 1, got to give love because he's got the same first name as me. Brendan Morrow, 5th overall, originally 25th overall. Number 4, I'll go Patty Marleau, originally 2nd overall. 3, I'll go Jumbo Joe, originally 1st overall. Okay. Number 2, Marian Hossa, originally 12th overall. And number 1, Bobby Lou, originally 4th overall.
That's unexpected where you put a few of those guys. Good picks, like that. Parr.
For me, a little bit different. I didn't deviate too much from what I actually broke down. I have 5 as Ole Jokinen. I got 4 as Marian Hossa. Number 3 is Patty Marleau. Number 2 is Roberto Luongo. God, I wanted to make him 1. But a guy with 1,500 points has to go number 1. Joe Thornton. They got it right.
Parr,
I like those picks.
Parr, you and I are exactly the same.
No way.
Wow.
5-1. I won't even do my usual way that Parr knows that I love to do it. I got Ole Jokinen at 5, Marian Hossa 4, Marleau 3, Roberto Luongo 2, Joel Thornton.
Great picks, Dave. I love them.
That is the first
There you
time
go.
we've had the same picks since we've started this little portion of the segment. That is wild. Awesome.
It's also the first time you guys are in line with each other.
Yeah.
It's so true. All right, fellas, we're at the cap. We're at our time limit for today. Lots of talk, a lot of extra talk for Igor today. He got probably a bit more love than he deserved, especially because he doesn't need any love because he's got this big suitcase of money now that he's hauling down the Big Apple in New York. But next week, we'll dive into some World Juniors. We'll dive into more Four Nations recap and also update around the league itself. But, fellas, I want to say thank you for taking the time. Parr, you have a good night, my friend.
You too, man.
We'll try to play some Chelsea soon.
I don't believe you.
You have a good night, too, and we'll talk next week. And we got our Christmas holidays soon, fellas. So, there's going to be a little vacation, but at least the World Juniors are on. So, Brennan, you have a good night.
See you guys.
See you, fellas.
This is the Game Sports Podcast. Dave McCaig, Brendan McCarthy, Alex Parr. When we right back, we have In the Pocket. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. Dave McCaig continuing to host you this evening. It's now time for In the Pocket, and I am joined by Justin Hykel. Hike, my friend, how's it going?
Oh, just digging out over here after another 3 feet of snow this week. Tucker's
I'm over it. And
yeah.
I went out for dinner tonight, like a quick errand. I did some errands and we picked up dinner. But before I had to go out, when I was finished, spoiler alert, we pre-recorded the first 2 segments. And in between that, I had a space to go get food. So I had to go outside because I was going to drive to get food instead of cook this evening. The wife's pregnant, so we had to do a little, of course, some craving hunting, we call it. But I had to shovel because the plow went by. And this, my driveway was fresh. Okay, nice and fresh. But you go out in the end of the driveway, just ice, plow of snow. And the plow people probably just go by and laugh at us as they go by. My whole street, when I went out there, was out with trying to get the snowblower out. Bad idea. Don't do your snowblower. At the end, that's pure ice. Not good for the old
garbage.
For the augers. Yeah, you got to shovel. So I'm shoveling. Okay, I'm shoveling. And then I see down the street, there's an older woman that lives down the street. She's pulling out the shovel. Okay, but someone beat me to the punch to go help her. But come on. I'm over the snow already. But geez, and I am not pointing fingers at the city with plow. I'm not saying that, but it's annoying that it has to be done, and it just sucks that it has to be done. And I'm already over the snow, and it's December the 10th, the day of this recording, Justin.
I mean, I'll say I haven't been critical, but I've been pretty critical. I mean, and I don't know, the Trailer Park Boys fans will get it. I'm literally the guy on my street that it's just dead quiet at 6:30 in the morning. I go outside and you just hear "Tucker" because there's a mountain of snow at the end of the driveway again. I'm never on time for work in the morning. Absolutely never on time. I just got my coffee. I got a muffin. I got a protein shake. And now I got to go shovel the fucking driveway. I got a big belly full of milk. I'm trying to shovel the fucking driveway. Get to work. You're all sweaty, just pissed off for the day. Why are you so sweaty getting to work? Because I'm fat and I'm trying to shovel the driveway.
At 6 a.m. At
Yeah.
6 a.m. Yeah. And that Friday, November 29th, which was a couple Fridays ago now, almost a couple Fridays ago, was an absolute bonker fest, okay? The place where I work, okay, there was cars in the middle of the parking lot, and people just got out and left their cars because their cars got stuck, okay? And come on.
It's like The Walking Dead, when you see the cars just abandoned on the highway.
And I get it. Nothing's done. If no one's ready, it's like then last year we were so gifted here in Sault Ste. Marie with no snow basically till January 1st. Okay, till after New Year's is when we started really getting the snowfall.
We got 6 weeks of snow. I don't even think I used a snowblower last year.
Last year I've used my snowblower. This year, sorry, I've used my snowblower at least a dozen times. My snowblower has got its workout and it's brand new, and it needs to be put away because snow's got to stop. But you know what? It's not going to.
No,
we're getting everything we missed last year.
We're in it for the long haul here. I mean, that's a good rant we got out there. I'm glad we both got that off our chest.
Yeah, we needed that. Now, Justin, you and I in the pocket, which is been and always is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's best sports bar over a handful of years in a row, best wings, multiple years in a row. Look, if you want to go enjoy a good sports atmosphere to watch the game, in particular football game, college or NFL, check out Sports Center in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. And if you're outside of Sault Ste. Marie, we love obviously the interaction support for everyone outside. But if you're ever in Sault Ste. Marie, or if you want to give Sports Center a search, just to check them out, they love that. But our recommendation, realistically, if you're ever in Sault Ste. Marie, go check them out for a good little sports atmosphere. It's awesome in there, and it's the original home to the Game Sports podcast. And if you're on video, you're getting a treat right now. If you know, you know, okay? And if you're on audio, well, you got to check into YouTube to see what I just did. Now, Hike.
Two guys, one cup.
Oh, my goodness. Justin is on one tonight. He is feeling it tonight. Now, we got a couple things on the agenda here tonight. And it is just you and I. Okay, and we've talked so much NCAA football this year, and I'm very proud of ourselves to actually make sure that we incorporate that more in our agenda. But this year of college football has been like no other, in my opinion. It's been very exciting to watch. Obviously, as a fan of Oregon, it's been even more exciting to watch. And, of course, Oregon Ducks winning the Big Ten championship last week. Watching that was really cool. Obviously, in their first year in the Big Ten, they did extremely well. Winning a perfect season and winning the Big Ten obviously tells you that. Obviously, there was games last week that caused a lot of surprise, and the Oregon game wasn't that. But the playoff picture is what we're going to be looking at today. We're not going to be talking about last week too much, given time. We're going to dive into the 2024-2025 college football playoff picture. And I do have it up on my screen here to the right, so everyone knows if you see me looking over there, it's not that I'm looking away from the camera if you're on video. Just make sure that I get everything right for you here, because I didn't memorize everyone who's playing everybody. Okay, I want to make sure I give you
I'm
everything
cheating too, so it's fine.
Totally fine. The first playoff round, you obviously got Clemson and Texas, and the winner of that game is going to go over to play Arizona State in the Peach Bowl. So that's the quarterfinals in the playoffs, where you got obviously the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, Sugar Bowl. You got that before you hit the Cotton Bowl and the Orange Bowl. Then you hit the national championship. Okay, so really Clemson.
Not to go off topic here, but I really like the B and C grade bowls, like the Chick-fil-A Bowl. The Meineke Car Care Bowl, those ones.
Trust the Midas Touch Bowl. No, that's not
all those.
Those fun ones. Maybe we need to have one. The Game Sports Podcast Bowl needs to be one.
I think Barstool had one last year.
Did they?
Yeah. I think so.
That's worth a quick little
I'll fact check that one.
You get that a little fact check. But it wouldn't surprise me, because Dave Portnoy definitely has his hands in college football. And I'm not getting into that topic right now for two reasons. I don't want him to be tagged, and I don't want Dave to try to cancel me. Okay, no, not chirping. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Michigan, okay, never mind. Going back to the college football picture, Clemson versus Texas. The winner of this game plays Arizona State. You got Clemson at 12. You got Texas at 5. The ratings, don't let that deceive you, okay? I think that game is going to be very exciting still to watch, but Texas obviously is the favorite in this game, and rightfully so. We're going to go through the playoff picture, who we think is going to win, but I'm just talking about the games that are upcoming. So with all the 12 teams, you got Tennessee, Ohio State. The winner of that plays Oregon. That's a solid game in the first round. That's something that I'm very excited to watch, is that Ohio State, Tennessee. Ohio State, I think, should be a higher seed, but there's been some tough competition. SMU and Penn State will go against Boise State. Obviously, Ashton Genty is an absolute juggernaut, okay? Absolute stud at running back there for Boise. But Penn State and SMU, still going to be a good game, but it's not my favorite highlighted game out of the playoff first rounds, but still two good football teams.
That one will probably end up being the one that everyone's talking about afterwards.
42-38 or 50 or something high scoring.
It's just going to be something stupid.
Something nuts. Now, Indiana, Notre Dame, that's a spicy game, as Justin was saying.
Indiana Bowl right there.
Literally, Notre Dame and Indiana, that's going to be some sort of spicy, that game. I'm excited for that game. And the opponent that they play next in the Sugar Bowl, and that Georgia, that's going to be whoever goes on. And Indiana being a 10, they've been a good surprise this year. I know people did project them to have a stronger season, but truthfully on my end, I thought, given the talent that was going on throughout the NCAA college football ranks, that I didn't see them really as a 10th, that maybe they would be that 12th, 13th, maybe 14th seed. But this is a team that has definitely come out and performed and shown why. But 10th could also be deceiving. They could be higher because of the way this team has actually shown. But there's a lot of talent in NCAA football this year that I feel is really impressive. But Notre Dame, Indiana, we'll have our predictions for everything in the first round. But there's 4 teams waiting: Arizona State, Oregon, Boise, and Georgia for the Peach Rose, Fiesta, and Sugar Bowls before meeting on to the next steps. These games, when you think, Justin, you have Oregon, who's 13-0, Georgia's 11-2, Boise State was 12-1, and Arizona State was 11-2. All right, now you have Clemson, whose rank was 10-3, SMU 11-2, Indiana 11-1, Tennessee 10-2, along with Ohio State, and then Notre Dame, Penn State, and Texas were 11-2. Respectively. Now, the first round it begins on the 20th of December, which is 10 days away from this recording. And obviously, South Bend, Indiana is where that game is played. That's in Notre Dame and Indiana.
They were saying cheapest resale ticket right now is like $1,800 for that game.
Wild. For college football, that's going to be something. And then obviously State College, Pennsylvania, December 21st at noon Eastern Time, SMU and Penn State. You got Clemson in Texas. Guess where? In Austin, Texas. That is on the 21st. And then the night game for December 21st, you got the big one. You got Tennessee and Ohio State. Guess where? Columbus, Ohio. Been there. That's exciting. If you want, and you're in Sault Ste. Marie or you're in Detroit, you can – well, Detroit, a little bit of a different ways, but you could still drive there within appropriate reason. I went to see the Blue Jackets and Leafs down in the Nationwide, and it was a great atmosphere there in Columbus here in the Cannon go off. Their football, though, they take that real seriously there. Ohio State, that is going to be quite an electric atmosphere in 2 teams. You got Tennessee and you got Ohio State. Oof, that's going to be something. Then you see the quarterfinals on the 1st and New Year's Day. New Year's Day, after you've had a night of New Year's Eve and you're ready to relax on the couch on January 1, guess what you get? You get some college football quarterfinal action before the semifinals hit on January 9th, and the national championship is on January 20th, so still about a month or so away for that national championship that we're looking at. So that's the full scope of picture with playoff.
Seems like that goes on for a lot longer than it used to now.
It does. It does seem that way, right? Like I know there's the Christmas time, there's New Year, but there's still definitely longer than anticipated, or that you would anticipate. But this is going to be an interesting playoff picture, Justin. I want to give, in light to before we talk about the NFL and we don't chew up too much time of NCAA. We have our predictions for the bracket. would like to put that out. Be a good, obviously, clip to share with the listeners and viewers. I want you, Justin, to go first about what do you think for the full bracket. Who's winning what, who's going what, and who's winning the national championship this year? Early prediction, early bracket. Pick your wins from top to bottom, putting you on the spot.
All right, well, I'm taking Tennessee over Ohio State, and then Oregon over Tennessee. Clemson over Texas in a spoiler, and then Arizona over Clemson. So Oregon and Arizona State in the semifinal. Penn State over SMU, and then Boise over Penn State. And then I'm taking Indiana over Notre Dame, and then Georgia over Indiana. Boise State, Georgia game, I think, is going to be a real banger, and I'm honestly just
so good
guessing at this point, but I'm going to take Boise State, and then I'm going to take Oregon. And then, Oregon seems like too good of a story to let go to the championship, but I know that's where Dave's going, so I'm going to take Boise State to win it.
Well, spoiler alert. Yeah, I'm cheering. I cheer for the best, but it's obviously I'm going to eliminate the bias because I think this team is so special. But now that I spoiled who I think is going to win, I still got to give you the bracket. So in the first round, I'm going to have a few obvious picks here. I am picking Texas over Clemson to play Arizona. Then I have Ohio that will go on against Oregon. Then I am actually going to pick Penn State over Boise State, over SMU to play Boise State. Then I have Notre Dame over Georgia. So I kind of went the safe route with all the high seeds, all good football games. But the quarterfinals is where I got it being a little bit more juicy. In the quarterfinals, I have Texas over Arizona State, Oregon over Ohio, and then I actually have Penn State over Boise, and then I have Georgia over Notre Dame. And now I know that's going to cause some change with why you think that for Boise. There's something about Penn State. When I watch them play Oregon, they have a team that has some good defense. I think they can really stop the run game from Boise. So Texas, Oregon in the Cotton Bowl. I am picking Oregon in a very, very, very exciting football game. I have with Georgia playing Penn State. I got Georgia beating Penn State in the Orange Bowl. So that would leave Oregon and Georgia 1 and 2. Very obvious way to go. And I got Oregon winning in a very high scoring game. Wouldn't be surprised to see overtime, but I'm going to predict a 37th win for Oregon in the national championship this year. That is the brackets for us. Let us know for your brackets below. That's in light of our pick'ems, and we'll have analysis each week after the playoffs start for these brackets and see if we are right and if you are right. Justin, now let's jump into the NFL. I know we're already going a little bit overtime, so we're gonna try to go through this a little bit more within our, not to go too much over. With the NFL last week, there was a lot going on last week, but the game of the week, to be honest, was the Thursday nighter. That was the Lions and Packers game. After that, don't get me wrong, there were some good storylines throughout the week, like Josh Allen being an absolute stud all week.
Getting a bazillion points and losing.
Yeah, and then losing 44-42. That's a tough loss to swallow for the Bills, of course. But again, the best game of the week for me would have to be the Lions-Packers. That lived up to the hype. I loved it. The Lions are just looking unstoppable, man. They are looking great to watch.
People just keep getting hurt and they keep winning. So, I mean, like, Dan Campbell just doesn't give a shit. Honestly, like, hey, it's 4th and we should kick because that's the smart thing to do. Fuck it. We're going for it. All right, man. All right. And they do it. They fucking do it every time. So,
and their success.
Like, kudos to Lions fans for getting to enjoy this, because honestly, they've been just through garbage for a lot of years, just garbage. So, like, it's nice. It's nice to have something nice.
And they're not seeing that garbage right now. Okay, they're seeing a team that is a Super Bowl caliber juggernaut, and why they are a favorite. The Vikings are like, that division is real tight, real good. I love that excitement in that division. You're 12-1 and you still haven't clinched the division. Now, obviously, they've clinched the wild card. They're seeing playoff football this year. Are those Lions, and the Eagles are the team from the NFC that are seeing some playoff football. But the teams that have clinched the divisions have been the Bills and the Chiefs. Those are the only two teams that have clinched divisions. And the Lions, doing what they are, they have a very tough schedule coming up too. And they're hurt, right? And those are going to depend. And you want to try to get that bye. You don't want to play that first week. I know some people are like, well, yeah, you want to play. Don't go into games. Don't have that momentum. Don't have that rest. But you know what? The Lions need that rest. They're hurt, Justin.
Yeah, I mean, like, they're looking at potentially having Aiden Hutchinson back for the playoffs at some point, so I mean, like, if that happens, like, imagine the roster they're going to go into the playoffs with. Like, it's
full team,
it's
is
kind of scary, but I do believe they need a week off. Like, they just need they're beat up. They're beat up
and
right now.
Their bye week, it was back. I'm sorry, I remember the week
4 or 5. Like, it was early.
So early, right? So let me give you this then, Justin. And I think people will respect, because we do have a fair bit of Lion fans that observed the show. A fair deal. Let's say you're in the final week. You've clinched a playoff spot. Okay. You've clinched a playoff. So I'm going to give you 2 examples. Yes or no answer. 1, you haven't clinched a division yet. This is scenario 1. Do you rest guys? And you haven't clinched a division yet? No. Okay. So that leaves my second question. If you've clinched the division, you're done. You've won the division. You're all good. Do you rest in that final week?
I don't think so, because you're going to probably having a bye week the next week.
Okay.
You don't want guys with 2 weeks off.
Okay.
Like, you still have to have contact. Like, you can't go 2 weeks with no contact and then go right into playoff football.
You can split time on the field with some secondary or some guys that are on the bench.
I think you let guys play. If the guys always want to play, let them play.
Yep. Good call.
Guys aren't going to go out. Like, I mean, shit happens. But honestly, the guys aren't going to put themselves in a bad situation to get hurt the week before the playoffs. But they need to be out there. At least that's how I feel about it. I mean, Dan Campbell probably would go out there and play for them if he could.
And he'd be effective. And he would be effective out there. Very effective out there.
But no, the Lions, I think, are going to be the story of the week for the next, at least, this week too, to be honest.
Yep. And I know when we have our pick'ems, we have some interesting picks, and I think this is a big challenge for the Lions this week, and they're going to face a little bit of a challenge, especially with the Vikings playing the Bears. The Vikings have an easier game this week. Let's be transparent, an easier game. And this is a team that's beat up the Lions. So it'll be very, very interesting to see. So, Justin, that's the only game that I really want to touch on last week, not just because we have a following from a Lions perspective, but there wasn't a whole bunch to dive into from a storyline, except, of course, as I mentioned, I love the Josh Allen game. 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was an MVP type performance. Why he's one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Unbelievable. Sorry, and rushing, like he had passing yards. Yeah, the passing, 3 touchdowns, and he had the rushing touchdowns for 3, So, like 6 total touchdowns in the day. That's absolutely absurd. Absurd, Justin. Absurd.
I mean, it's Bills fans are loving it right now, and I think he's kind of writing his ticket to being the MVP this year.
Literally writing his ticket. And if this is a year that the Bills could have maybe been that run and made it, this could have been it. But then you got to look up and you see the Lions and the Chiefs. You got teams up there that I still think are ahead of the Bills, but can never count out Josh Allen in a game.
The Chiefs' horseshoe has to fall out of their ass sooner or later.
Right? Like, and it's starting to show like they're winning games very marginally, small margins.
Ugly wins. But I mean, they're still winning, and that's what matters. Because we have to say that. But, I mean, everyone kind of hates it now.
There's got to be time when they fall off. And is it going to be that the Bills play the Chiefs again this year and it's going to be a different storyline? Maybe this is the year that we see it because we're seeing this version of Josh Allen. He's also engaged to Haley Steinfeld. Why does that matter? It does. The guy's got some good
momentum right now.
Field. He has momentum. He has confidence off the field. He's happy. There's a whole – hey, look, let me tell you this. Yes, you got to have that confidence in a game and that athleticism, and you got to have the talent. But if you go to the field with that clear mind and you're like focused and you're like in the right spot, it's a different feel, right? Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, we don't have to talk about that. But like the thing is, the guy's is happy off the field, and for a tight end, he performs. I know he hasn't caught a lot every game, but I feel that I see him out there. He still helps his team win. He's showing that confidence.
He still draws double coverage, so.
Exactly, right? So that outside of the field, off the field is the right term, is what I should say, really matters. And Josh Allen is having the season that Bills fans have been waiting for, but we'll see what happens, what wall they run into. Now, Justin, this week, let's get into the pick'em this week. We had some shifts in a specific way. It's been a pretty those 3 games that I didn't bid on the other week are really coming back to bite me in the rear end. Same with EJ. It's definitely been a shift in the standings. We're going to get to our pickups before we wrap up the segment tonight.
Yeah, we'll go right into the standings here. I mean, not to brag, but I am now in first with 136 points and a tiebreak win, which we can't figure out what it is.
Yeah, we can't find. Me and Justin don't know what it is.
Dave is in second with also 136 points. And whatever that tiebreak is, he lost. EJ in third with 133. So, yeah, those 3 picks that everyone missed, except for me, are not looking
And
great.
if you think about it, if I want to sit here and say I would have guessed 2 out of 3 and EJ would have guessed 2 out of 3, we're all still very tight. It doesn't matter.
We're uncomfortably close, just like we have been.
In the last couple of years, it's been 1 point separating. We don't plan this, people.
No, we couldn't plan this if we tried.
No, seriously. Trust me, if we tried, we couldn't. Even if it was written in stone and it gave us directions, I really fear that we would be able to accomplish it still.
We got 4 weeks left here with 4 full weeks of football, all 16 games going each week, no more bye weeks.
Nope.
So we'll see how it shakes out. And the playoffs. Playoffs are also
people forget that counts.
When the pool's this close, those extra games really can make a big shift.
Yep.
So I'm gonna dive right
first?
into. Yeah, I'll go out of mine here.
Awesome.
I'm the champ now. So Thursday nighter, I got the Rams over San Fran. Going into Sunday, I got KC over Cleveland, Cincinnati over Tennessee, Washington over New Orleans, Baltimore over the Giants, Carolina over Dallas, Jets over Jacksonville, Houston over Miami, Indy over Denver, Detroit over Buffalo, Philly over Pittsburgh, Arizona over New England, Tampa over the Chargers, Green Bay over Seattle, Minnesota over Chicago, and Atlanta over the Raiders. Tiebreakers, I got Atlanta 28, Raiders 17, Minnesota 39, Chicago 14. I don't know why I went with 39, but I got 39. Most points this week, Minnesota. Fewest points this week, Jacksonville.
Love that. We almost have same picks, but there's 3 that differentiate. So those 3 games, mark it. Those are the 3 games that are either going to or, okay? So now if we have similar picks, that's why those 3, if I'm wrong on all 3 and you're right, Hike's going to have a 3-game lead. That's why it's very imperative. I got the Rams over the Niners, Chiefs over the Browns, Bengals over the Titans, Commanders over the Saints, Ravens over the Giants, Panthers over the Cowboys, Jets over the Jags, Texans over the Dolphins, Broncos over the Colts, Bills over the Lions. First time this year I picked against the Lions. Josh Allen mojo, baby. And then, of course, Steelers over the Eagles. Trap game for the Eagles, thinking that they're going to go hot in this game. Watch out. That defense is going to run after Hurts, and it's going to hurt you, and they're going to find a way to stop Barkley this week. You watch. Cardinals over the Patriots. Buccaneers over the Chargers. Packers over the Seahawks. Vikings over the Bears. Falcons over the Raiders. 21-14 Falcons over the Raiders. And then I got 32-17 for the Vikings over the Bears. Yet another 30 in there, Justin. Another random number. I don't know why 32. It just came out to me. Most points this week. Someone's going to pull the horseshoe out of their ass and show why they've won the Super Bowl a couple years in a row. Kansas City Chiefs, most points. And the lonely Giants are going to have the least this week. Tiebreakers matter too. People got to remember those are big. We take those picks seriously because if we don't, it messes our standings. Got to love our pick 'em. And if we would like, I wish more members, only 3 people on our team that take care of that because we're in the pocket segment. But next year, we're going to have more involvement from the full team. We have 13 of us on this team with the game. And I'd like to see where we fit after that.
I think we just got to put some cash on and get everyone all motivated.
Just $20 throw in for the year.
Yeah,
it's
nothing
okay.
Crazy.
$200.
Yeah, I guess
2 zeros to that 2,000. Nope, not in the budget. That aside, the NFL and NCAA, you got the full reaction from Justin and I. Justin, this has been in the pocket, my friend. 11 minutes over, not bad. We do narrow time.
Not our best, not our worst.
Nope, not our best, not our worst. But we had the NCAA talk, really spicy. And then, of course, the Lions, spicy. Josh Allen, spicy. Facts today by us, spicy. Got to enjoy it. Then,
I mean, we bitched about the snow for 5 minutes too. So
yeah, so that gets deducted. That gets deducted. We only went 7 minutes over. That aside, as I hear people in my ear, without really hearing people in my ear, if you know, you know, the NFL season is coming to a close, and that means in the pocket we're into hitting week 14, right? So it's wild, but what we're seeing in the National Football League this year, Steelers leading the division. Obviously, the Vikings, I think, are a great story this year. Of course, lots of football still remaining, and see how everything goes. But the division that I'm surprised the most is the NFC West. I really thought the Niners were going to walk away with that this year, but nope, not happening. So let us know how your season in fantasy is going, or if you're having pick'em leagues, and we'd love to interact with you. Justin, thank you very much for taking the time, my friend, as always.
Oh yeah, no, it's a good time to be here, get it out of our system. Tiana's already sick of me talking about the Colts still being able to make the playoffs, so this is the only place I can get it out.
It's okay when the Steelers are in. You can come on in. Come on in. The boat will let you in for a playoff run if you'd like to join. No, okay.
No, no, we beat you this year, so we're better than you.
And I still owe you hot wings. Trust me, it's on my list right here on the sticky note.
They're only getting hotter.
A lot, yeah. If I can go mega hot inferno. All right, so I want to say thank you to, again, Justin. I want to say thank you to Jordan Trudeau for our Chuck-a-Puck segment. I want to say thank you to Alex Parr, Brendan McCarthy for our Top Shelf segment. Make sure you don't drop anything there. That's a very fragile background you have over there. It's the best in the business, that background.
I knocked over some batteries, full disclosure.
There you go. And again, thank you to Justin, to everyone here, part of the Game Sports Podcast family. And to the listeners and viewers, don't hesitate to like, follow, and subscribe on all the platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We are all over the place. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube on 91 Network. We're there. And, of course, Spaces, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario's own community through Village Media and Soo Today, the Game Sports Podcast on the sports and hockey page.
Yeah, I checked out Spaces the last couple weeks at work, going through. A lot of good recipes popping up in there. Totally off topic. I was looking for our stuff, and we're in Christmas cookie season. And let me tell you, that overtook my interest over the Game Sports Show, unfortunately. So
that's allowed.
Just shout out to Spaces for having something I did not expect to waltz into.
They have all the things you need, spaces, especially in the holiday season. It is time. And you know what also it is for this season, Justin? 2 things. Simmons and eggnog. If you don't know what a persimmon is, I will answer that next show. Nonetheless, thank you very much for everyone joining. Wrapping up the show. Justin, thank you again. We're going to be back next week. We got one more week, and then we're going to hit our Christmas holidays where we only have clip and breaking news for the World Juniors is what we'll have. But we're going to have one more week before we hit our Christmas holiday vacation where we'll have 2 weeks off, an annual vacation for the Game Sports Podcast. So don't want to miss that upcoming next week. And until then, I'm here to remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.